like I should just drum.
That's good stuff right there, Damon.
We're coming right into it, aren't we?
Hi-hats.
Got the hi-hats going.
Little air band. Who's got bass?
All right, enough of that for us. But
we might play that the whole hour, man.
We can play that for the whole hour.
We could just have it replaying over and over.
It's a revolving door.
Yeah,
that's just good. You just can't get enough of that. How can you not?
It's
love
like
the
being in a game of some kind when you're at like a baseball game when you used to be able to go to these things, and they play the same thing you've heard for like 20 years, but you still get jacked,
Yeah.
Like, you still get pumped.
That's for sure. But hey, we just wanted to get on today because this is our normal time that we've got the old Exit Airway Live where we're interviewing people or talking about something, business life, whatever the hell we're going to talk about on the day, and just talking to interesting people. But I wanted to get Jeff and Curt on here today because we're just going to talk about what's happened this year. We started in with the intro music and dropping a bomb on me. It was kind of like last year for some people.
Yeah.
Threw us a lot of curveballs, that's for sure. But all in all, we learned a lot. So, guys, welcome.
Well, Happy New Year, boys.
Thanks
Happy
for having
New
us.
Year. We survived 2020, man. And
we're here.
What's fascinating, like a year ago.
David survived. He's the one that got COVID,
Yeah. That's, and you think about like a year ago right now, we had no idea what we were walking into. There was like some rumblings of like, hey, there's something going on, what is this thing? And it's starting to hit Italy. And, we had absolutely no idea what we were walking into.
Yeah.
It was a total blind. It was a blind side. Just a left hook from, you didn't see it coming. And you're like, what is this? This can't be real. And then early on, the whole, grocery store bombardments and.
Yeah, exactly. It was like
you kind of forget about these things. The toilet paper hoarding that was going on.
Yeah, you forget about it.
February or March or whatever it was. Yeah. It was like, what is going on here? Are we like apocalyptic here? We got to like, people were going buying guns and ammo and I'm ready to, I don't know, kill my neighbor if he comes for my toilet paper. I don't know. It's like, it's the logic. It's like, herd, oh, they're doing it. I'm going to do it,
Yeah.
So,
how did people survive before Charmin, like.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, it's
fight on a stick, that's what they did.
I never even thought about that until you said it again, because it's weird how quickly we go past that stuff, right? Because I remember standing in line in the damn grocery store for an hour and a half in the grocery store for an hour and a half. You're like,
and the Costco was like rationing. Rations.
Yeah.
It was really interesting because it evolved so quickly with COVID. And then what was really wild was, remember how like the first like month, 2 months, it was like business did a slingshot thing. It was like a 180 where no one's going in. The roads were empty. It was almost like, it was like weird. It was like Christmas Day driving sometimes when the roads are empty on Christmas Day, a lot of times in the morning, because everyone's at home with their families doing presents and stuff or whatever. Or, or New Year's Day, everyone's hungover. So, the roads are empty, So, but yeah, I mean, it was a weird situation when we came back to Washington during COVID, because my aunt got sick. Driving across the U.S. was just the weirdest experience. I can't even explain. It was in the heart of like the height of it. It was like March. What was it? Probably like March or something. Everything was shut down.
Yeah. So you were right in the middle of it when that happened.
All the executive orders were getting slammed around, but it was weird because you go from state to state to state across the country, from like Illinois across all the way to Washington. And yeah, it was like South Dakota was, when we went through South Dakota was different, and the Badlands was just eerie quiet. All the parks were shut down, so there was no camping, there was no motorhomes, there was no semi trucks even really on the road. It was definitely the weirdest trip in a car I've had. Planes weren't even flying really. I mean, they were like, it had all hit. They hadn't even put in all the precautions that they have now, I guess.
Yeah.
It was a weird time, and then the business was changing quickly.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, it's just like, man, being in the restaurant industry this year has been like, oh, get punched in the gut once, when you had to shut down at the beginning, and then it comes back, and maybe we're gonna get something back, and then get punched in the gut again, and then you get hit now in the busiest time of year for bars and restaurants around the holiday, from
bars, years, gyms, health facilities, training clinics and even like physical therapy clinics, like they got hit hard too, right? And it is sad because it's to no fault of their own, It's like your restaurant's not, in the restaurants we know operate on thin margins and have you're in that because you love it, you're in it because you want to feed people, like genuinely people care, like that's why you become a chef and own a restaurant. A lot of times people really care about what they're doing, so they don't, the money isn't even a part of the thing, and there are such thin margins, and then they get just hammered, and it's like you can't do that to a restaurant because it's not sustainable. And takeout, they're not set up for it, and a social atmosphere, that's the whole reason people go out, is so we can be social. That's all gone, so when was the last time you guys went out to dinner? It's been a long time for me.
Right.
I'm in Colorado and you're in Seattle, so we're.
We actually in Washington, it's kind of goofy now. If they've got one of these outdoor tents set up, you can eat in it. You can go out and eat in it, right? So
that doesn't make any. I mean, I don't know. Is that like a fit? Like, I don't know. I'm not a physician, but my friend's a physician. I'm like, just so you put someone in a tent outside and that's less COVID-y? I don't know. It's like the airplane thing. It's like 6 feet apart going through TSA, but on the plane we can sit next to each other.
Yeah.
I guess it's less COVID-y when we're all, I don't know if it's just them just swinging for the fences and trying to.
They're trying to do the right thing, and
for sure.
I don't know. It's you look at one. And it's different too, like if you're in the Dakotas where I grew up, where there's not many people, it's a lot different problem than it is in Seattle.
Totally. Yeah, my buddy Kevin lives out in North Dakota, and they haven't had any like closures. The restaurants are open. They've been the whole time. I don't think they did any shutdowns, and so for him, he's like, I don't really, I don't see the effect. But if you're in Seattle, Denver, Chicago, any major metro.
Well, yeah. Could you imagine in New York City? Can you imagine in New York City? I've been there half a dozen times, and me being from the country, I don't.
True thing. That's fact. Yes, and don't turn on the air either, because it's just blowing the petri dish.
Exactly.
In your face. So that's one thing. Don't turn the air on, right? It's like, I'm gonna get sick now because I just blew like the circulation.
Well, out here, Alaska Airlines has commercials about we're safe, and they're good commercials, right? They're talking about the air being they've got the UV lights that kill the bacteria, all this other stuff.
Oh, really? Are they doing that?
Yeah,
they like retrofitted their planes, I'm assuming. They had to have. Yeah, that was kind of surreal. And coming from Mukilteo, right, and in Seattle, where Boeing was, let's go back to like 19, 18, and it was a super successful, right? The 737 Max was taking off, doing well, and then they had the crashes. They get hit with that, they get beat up with the crashes, and then living around the airfield there, and all my neighbors being aerospace engineers, and this, that, and other. It was like, now they're all out, like they're like a bunch aren't even working anymore, and they're aerospace engineers. So where are you going to go? Bombardier, Airbus, like that's the two.
Yeah, that is something. They just started delivering them again in December, the 737. So from Boeing's standpoint, they're going to be able to at least start delivering planes again. It'll be hell. It might be past us before they get back to where they were.
Yeah, I wonder what the buying is going to be if because air traffic travel has decreased so much. Like, it kind of reminds me of September 11th. When like my dad was traveling on the West Coast or East Coast, and when they shut the planes down for 2 weeks, right? No flying at all.
Yeah.
And they had to like drive across country just to get back home because he was in Philly on business when that whole thing went down. And it was kind of like that, where how long it took travel to come back. Remember, to be comfortable
Yeah.
to get on a plane, because you're like, oh geez, this is, this could be, we don't
Yeah.
want to be, in our plane pushed into a building or crashed or whatever. I wonder how long it's going to take to rebound, or if it ever will, right? Because business travel is forever changed.
Yeah.
The way people are doing business like this, we're doing this like this. We probably do this at a coffee shop or like in one of our offices and like jam and all be in the same room.
Yeah.
It's a
Well,
trip.
Pete's got an interesting comment here. He said Amazon took over #1 in Washington State over Boeing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I heard a weird statistic. I don't know if it's true, that they had 20% of all their employees had COVID in the warehouses.
Oh, at Amazon?
Yeah.
I don't know.
At Amazon warehouses, 20% of the employees in the warehouses, if you were to add them all up, that got COVID, have had COVID, and no one's hearing about that. I find that interesting, right? Because if that happened to another business, you're shut down. If that's your restaurant, you're not doing business, and so it's very interesting.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Amazon's almost like a government agency now. Like it's a necessity. Like we can't live without Amazon.
Well, that's just it. How much did they go up in 2020?
Oh,
because I've got a neighbor that's got a FedEx business. One of the routes or a couple of them. I don't know how many he's got or whatever. But he said it's like Christmas every day. Yeah. And this was in August when I was talking to him.
Yeah, and everyone's offering 2-day shipping. And e-commerce that's evolved into now everyone pretty much, if you don't do 2-day shipping, you're like 2018 at this point.
Yep.
So I just wonder, how much of that's going to affect the sellers on Amazon, and then also the ecosystem of e-commerce has changed drastically this last 12 months and is going to get wild in 2021.
Yeah, no doubt. And things the I don't know, the second person I know that's never bought anything from Amazon.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't shop much on
I honestly don't buy a lot. I still, believe it or not, the last thing I bought on Amazon was a book.
I just bought one.
You
went to the old school, man. You were just trying to get nostalgic. He's like, I want to go back to the OG days.
Yeah, I bought this book on Amazon. I was like, awesome. It's coming Prime, gets here in a couple of days, I'm good.
Yeah. So, but I like what Jeff's saying, like with the engineers that in aerospace. I think the big word for last year was what? Pivot. I mean, have you ever heard the word? There were so many catch words for 2020, and pivot was obviously a daily.
They were taking a book out of the angel world, right? Like, we got to pivot our strategy.
We got to pivot, and
everyone was doing pivot.
Think about how many people, how many individuals, how many companies. I had a great conversation. Best friend of mine. He's a clinical psychologist at University of Minnesota, and he deals with cancer patients. And so, he's a 30-year veteran. We used to be in Denver. Been all over the country. Very used to pharmaceutical companies would hire him to go speaking around the country about certain drugs or whatever. That came to a screeching halt. Then so many hospitals and medical facilities, they're not doing the elective surgeries, which is where the profits are. And so all that came to a screeching halt. So many of the medical centers and in healthcare are bleeding because of all those services came to a halt. So University of Minnesota, they were leasing the building he was in. They stopped to cut costs. They're no longer leasing the building. He's now going virtual with all of his clients. And if I would have asked him a year ago, he's dealing with cancer patients. And I would have said, hey, what do you think about, why don't you guys just go virtual? Why don't you do Zoom meetings with your cancer patients? He said, a year ago, there's no way on the planet. I would have total resistance. I would have said, no way. He's now been doing it since November. He's like, I love it. It's more convenient for him. It's more efficient for him. He sees more patients, and his cancer patients don't have to drag into the office in the middle of the winter in Minneapolis to come see him. He has less cancellations. So now, here's a situation that is so much more efficient, so much more effective, better for the customer. We just never, Damon, how many times, Allison taught us, think about the customer, make the customer the hero. Yeah. And here, it was just always, they have to come see us. They always have to come see us. Now they turn it around by force, and now they discovered it's more efficient. He hopes he never goes back. So that's one example.
Yeah, my wife had a telehealth appointment yesterday, and
Yeah.
she's sitting at the kitchen table doing her
Yeah.
doctor's appointment. And she's like, "Man, this is really nice.
It's efficient.
Yeah,
It's more
Yeah, they
convenient.
basically will just send you to do blood draws, and
yeah, exactly.
they get your results, and then they just do it virtually. I mean,
Yeah,
you know how it is when you're at the doctor and they come in anyways. They only spend like 8 minutes with you if you're
yeah,
lucky.
Yeah.
And it's usually like, yeah, you're not dying, or you are dying, and then they leave.
yeah.
I'd almost argue. I just had to take my daughter to the doctor earlier. She had to get a shot or whatever. So you sit in the parking lot. You have to call in. And like all these cars are coming in and out. People are walking. I'm like, well, a year ago we would all been sitting in that waiting room, all coughing and hacking on each other. Probably just a total germ fest.
Yeah.
Now we're actually sitting in our cars, and I'm like, I bet you we're healthier now. And I'm curious when this does go away, how many of these new practices are going to stay in place? Just because like we're not in a waiting room of a doctor's office with everybody coughing on each other.
No doubt. Now this one, I heard Thane talk about this the other day, but how do you do that? I'm just asking.
Wow.
Well, is there a video somewhere? Can we?
Oh,
I'm just saying.
Oh,
It's a guess. It's a guess.
Well,
Everybody's
Thank you for sharing.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Nice thing.
Yeah.
We did the dog. We took our dog to the vet.
Yeah.
And itchy skin kind of thing. And it was weird because it was the same thing. It was like, wait, get in the parking lot, wait, bring him in.
Mm-hmm.
We take him from you, and then we'll call you when he's done, and then you come back and pick him up, and that's it.
Yeah.
It was, turn and burn.
Well,
probably churning a lot more patients. But then we got to go back to like, yeah, that's efficient, effective, and yeah, it's going to be good for his practice. But he doesn't need staff then, so then those people get displaced. And technology is going to take over all of his appointment setting, so he doesn't need anyone to help him with that. So that's going to be displaced. You don't need CNAs anymore. You're not going to need dental assistants as much. Like a lot of these things or whatever in the spaces are. Then you have this major displacement.
Yeah.
What happens then, right? Like you're going to retrain them into learning internet sales. I mean, that's the whole thing that is kind of crazy about this major episode that we're dealing with, and then the business model is changing so fast.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was saying, I think before, Damon, when we talked months ago, I said we covered 10 years of e-commerce in 1 year.
Yeah.
10 years of evolution in 1 year. Like I had suspected we would get to this point in 4 years from now. Around 2025, you probably see full automation and machine learning and a lot more AI and a lot more of this stuff, and then you wouldn't need people, right? Technology would just displace them. Well, it's doing that, but even in like face-to-face kind of things, and I wonder what's going to happen with the human element of this, right? And your buddy being a psychologist and people's mental health, because now you're displacing folks that went to school for something very specific, and now they don't have a role.
Yeah, it's a good
one.
And again, since
what do they do? Then who's going to take care of that? So that's a big challenge.
And since we're all e-commerce guys, it just when like from a psychology standpoint, when I'm talking to them, I'm like, you think of folks with addictions, marriage counseling. Professor Pete was on. A lot of stuff that he does. Now, you can just do it virtually. Again, it's more convenient. It's if there's some issues that you have and you don't want to be in public at a public office or whatever, now you can do it in the comfort of your home, in the privacy of your home. And it's, I was on a call with a college reached out to me. They're trying to get more into e-commerce. And they're trying to figure out how can we promote our classes. And again, they're so stuck. So many businesses, universities, take academia, very resistant to change, legacy, brick and mortar. What's going on? You have the University of Phoenix's, you have like Southern New Hampshire,
Colorado Tech.
A lot of the
online school.
Exactly, and they embraced e-commerce years ago, and now they're cash cows. They're doing extremely well, and you have a lot of legacy, smaller liberal art colleges that are offering the 101s, and it's difficult to say, like, what's your competitive advantage now?
Well, and you make a great point, because the other thing that's happening at the same time that I think got accelerated like crazy is universities have been raising their rates like crazy. That just so much every year. I mean, it's insane when you think about what it costs to put our kids through school compared to what it cost when I went to school or something like that.
Yep.
I think there's going to be a massive shift in the way that people think about education, because my son's in his senior year of college, right? He's got friends that didn't go back to school because they're going to out-of-state schools, costing a lot of money, and they just said, listen, I'm not paying out-of-state tuition for virtual school. And then you look at some of these other people that really started to think about, is school the right, and this was before COVID, just forget about COVID. This is already happening. They're going, what does a 4-year degree really do for me compared to going out, and if I want to work in SEO, going out and taking every mastermind course I can and learning, paying for those kind of courses and spending, just think about if you spend $50K in coursework, really went out and found the best courses in something like SEO or pay-per-click and spent $50K on coursework, how much farther you'd be ahead than if you went to college. And I'm not saying that college is right for some people, but not for others. But I'm saying now, if you did that, and then you go to somebody that wants to a 4-year degree to get something, who is going in a similar field even, and we're talking about marketing or something like that, who's going to come out ahead?
That's a great.
I mean, you bring up a great point. Like Elon Musk just came out, right? Like recently and said, we don't care, MBAs need to go away, right?
Yeah.
Also, you got Jack Ma, who said, screw education. You had Peter Thiel, who's like, nope. It doesn't work. It's not effective. It's not efficient. And they're now about skills, right? So if you have the skills, what skills you bring to the table? How can you help my business, whether it's in e-commerce or other? It's really skill-based. And almost like trade schools. Like, when I went to school and when college was the talk, it was like, go to college, don't go to trade schools. Trade schools are, the boomer parents were just, devaluing trade schools and devaluing being a mechanic. And then you go back out, you come out of this whole thing and you're like, well, wait a second. Like, you went to a trade school, you didn't get into debt, a large amount of debt, and you're a mechanic, you're making good money through that whole time, and you don't have any debt load. You had a $200,000 degree, and you got a $50,000 job.
Yeah,
good job. Well, it's like going to be interesting to see how the schools transition, and then what do they do with the campuses, because that's a trip. Right. The other part of it is some people don't learn well virtually. Like, it's like that's another thing. We have learning disabilities, and I wouldn't say they're disabilities. I should say learning differences is probably a better word, because I really know that in school, I would have loved to sit down and be in class focused, right? I can't imagine that, I've taught enough classes online, but I can't imagine when you're attending, if you like the in-person interaction of your professor or your teacher, and you remove that from somebody who that's how they learn. I know it seems the same, but it isn't, right? How easy is it to get distracted and look around your office or diddle or whatever. Then if you're in there and they're like, hey, pay attention, Jeff, or whatever, right? I don't know, man. It's you see the effect on these elementary kids. They're falling behind. There's, we've heard a lot of stuff with our daughter in school, and we've heard a lot of stuff where it's like, wow, we have kids that were up a year ahead and now are even.
Right.
They've lost a whole year of this development because of disruption of school.
Yeah. No, you're making a great point, Jeffrey. And I've got a lot of buddies with kids in college, and they're like, I'm paying a ridiculous, Penn State or, different Big Ten schools or down south. And they're like, we're paying a ridiculous amount of money for our kids to sit in a dorm room and to take courses online. Yeah. And they're, they're not
going to readjust their pricing because they got to pay for that.
They're not going to readjust their pricing. Yeah, and what you're seeing, what's fascinating is you go back to the 90s when the whole internet thing started. And remember the internet bubble, when the whole, that whole thing went on. And, pets.com and all that was going on. But what they were saying was, boy, retail's in trouble. They were just 20 years too early. And, so now the Sears, the Blockbuster videos, Kmart's, all these brick and mortars that have collapsed, Toys R Us, Now you're just seeing, okay, now it's hitting academia. Now it's hitting healthcare. Now it's hitting Wall Street. Now it's hitting office buildings. Now it's hitting all these other aspects, public schools. They're just finally realizing, man, we just, shopping malls, we just don't need all this brick and mortar. And now what do we do? And now it's just hitting, like you're saying, Jeff, what would have happened 5 or 10 years from now happened in 2020, in every sector.
Yeah. And then, and then they're tied up that way, which is interesting too, is with this e-commerce piece, right? We've been doing that a long time, and this isn't new for me. But it's very interesting to see people kind of evolve and go, well, I'm just going to build an online store, or I'm going to just start an internet business. But what they don't really realize is that next year is probably going to be the noisiest internet year record ever. I would say this year coming up, 2021, is going to be the noisiest internet year, meaning that the amount of websites, the amount of content, the amount of people trying to be, authority figures or whatever, gurus, is going to 10x. It already has gone up a lot already, right? Like LinkedIn is noisy now. When it wasn't as noisy, I remember when the Pulse was like, you had to get invited to be in the Pulse and articles, and it was like you were like a part of a little clique there. It was like being writing for Entrepreneur or Forbes or something. Now it's like anybody can spew content. And so what we have is in e-commerce, and you guys know this, we have a lot of just misinformation everywhere. It's just a bunch of like, hey, you could do this with $2,000. You're going to have a, 10,000 a month e-commerce.
Oh my.
Okay. Yeah. I like to get lied to too sometimes, I guess, make me feel good if someone's like, you're really sexy or something. But, at the end of the day, it's like, stop. Like, that's going to be the problem, right? We're going to run into is just this evolution of crap, right? And quick get rich quick schemes, and the whole .com bubble went through that a little bit too, right? The MLMs and the affiliate marketing was like the big thing in 2007, 2008, right before that big recession. That was huge, dude. Affiliate marketing, multi-level marketing. You have your link on my site, I have your link on my site, and that's what I was sharing, and it changed, right? It was a hot thing for a period of time, and then it went away. And then that's what we're dealing with now. Hot things that are going to go away, and what's going to be
Exactly. Well, we got a lot of comments in here, man. We were talking the last few minutes. There was like 15 comments, but
we got to
James Grandoff has been on our roundtable, and he's a cybersecurity guy, dude. I'm going to have him on live here. I think it's early in February, late in this month, but he brings up a good point about, and he talks about another post in here too about some visual, like a holographic projection of your teachers that are kind of in the room with you or something like that.
It's like they did Coachella. Tupac came back,
There you go. And then Ron brings up a good point too. I went to school for engineering. I don't think if you're going to be like Jeff was talking, an aerospace engineer, you're going to be able to do that without going to school. And obviously we are talking about things like that. I don't want a doctor working on my heart. I've gone to school for it.
It's a different ball game when we're talking about medical school.
I
think we're talking. We speak more, I think, in business, general business. Marketing, sales. Like what most people are going to school for, communications or something. Not med school. I would say that med school is not counted in this. You need to go to do that. You need to be touching all of those instruments. You can't do that.
Well, this will make it hurt.
Well, and that's the thing is you talk to people that their kids are getting a social work degree, and they have a couple $100,000, and that is painful to see. Andrew, our heart goes out to you. God bless you that congratulations that your child is so successful to go to med school. It's challenging for the kids that are getting a liberal arts degree coming out with a couple $100,000 in debt. And now, they're going to be a teacher, or, that's an unfair advantage for those.
Political science. Becoming a writer, editor, and, you go to school for journalism, and that's changed, making money, and that is.
Right.
Well, and like my brother, when he got his MBA at Notre Dame. And he was there, and he's like, man, I can't believe. And he went to a little tiny school in the Midwest to get his undergraduate, right? He went there and got an executive MBA. What did they look at when he went out to get a job? His executive MBA from Notre Dame. Yeah, right. So he was there while he was going to school. He's like, look at all these chumps. They're sitting here paying whatever it was a year at that time, because he's old like me. But he said they're paying this every a year, and they're just like you said, they're getting political science degrees. And nothing wrong with those degrees. That's free. Don't get me wrong. Those are great degrees for the people who want to do the kind of work that they use. That I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying that, man, that's a lot of money just to say that you went to that school. That's all I'm saying.
But let's go. We know where that pressure came from, and that pressure came from baby boomers. That came from my parents. Was like, you have to, you got to be better than me and better than I was. So you need to go to these nice, like, high schools, and you need to get good grades. And
you're right.
That pressure was ingrained by a generation that ingrained that pressure. So then you had this education where everyone went to college, and it was like, when I get my degree, I'm going to be making bank, and life is good. And what I've learned, through my whole career and through, both sides of the coin, is that it all is going to come down to the person a lot of times. I have a buddy in high school that I was like, this guy is a loser. He didn't even finish high school. He's going nowhere. He's got enormous amount of money now. He had started debt collection agencies and multiple industries, and has big entrepreneur and drives Rolls Royces and stuff. And I thought he was going to like be a crackhead, and like sit on a corner. Entrepreneurial, right? Because that's the thing. And then I have I have other friends that went to USC or went to Stanford or Cal or something, and Pepperdine or whatever, and they're not successful, in the slightest. In the sense of what is success is determined on your own personal views. But it is a weird paradigm shift that happens. That is like,
this is Andrew said. James said a couple things too, and I'll get to his comments. But Andrew makes it funny because I think I got out of college and I was there 5.5 years and worked through college myself, and I think I came out with less than like $20,000 in debt, and I paid for all my school.
It would have been before, I wouldn't, it was interesting to see. And then now when Gen Xers, and millennials are having children, what are we going to teach our kids? Like, am I going to push, like, you need to get that 4-year, you need to get that, or am I going to be more like, hey, what do you want to do that's going to, what do you want to do, and then work towards skills in what you want to do, and get good at what you want to do. And like everyone says, don't lean on your weaknesses, lean into your strengths, right? Fixing a weakness that's always going to be a problem. You're a slow runner, you're always going to be a slow runner. You're not going to be Usain Bolt. But if you're good at something else, then lean into that and don't try to be a fast runner. I think some people, it'll be interesting to see that our generation raising our kids going, all right, how do you impress that upon them, right? Because they're going to look at dad dad dropped out of college. Well, but mom went to college. But, how do you, it's going to be interesting to see the dynamic of what these kids are going to have to now evolve into.
Well, and you get back to the thing of hopefully the vaccine comes in. We're going to be able to, this year we'll get it out to enough people that they'll be able to go back to school this fall if they haven't already.
Mm-hmm.
And that taken care of. It's not going to change the problem of I think about right now, and I've talked about this, I think you guys both heard me say this, is that we've got all these businesses that have been hurt, and I think especially restaurants and gyms and these kind of things, that the ones that are around when we start to come back out of this, mid-summer, end of the summer, resorts and all that, the resorts, I think, are still, if they can be open now, they're still busy. I mean, we left for a couple days this last weekend, even just to go up into the mountains, and you can't find a place where you can get out, of the city and go someplace.
Those kind of resorts, not like Disneyland.
Not like Disneyland. I mean, but where you can, and not a hotel kind of resort, but when you can go out to Airbnbs and stuff, you can't find places anymore because even at the start of COVID, we went out to a different spot out in Central Washington, out at Chelan on a lake out there, and the vacation homes were all rented up, and some of these people that actually own these and renting them out just said, heck, we're leaving town and we're staying in our house for months. And just picked up because they could move, they can work some other place, and they've done that. And like
I think it did bring a lot of people together, which was good. Family, that wouldn't have other been, spent time with your kids. Like I mean, wow.
100%.
I mean, kids not been in school for months. So you got to like have some crazy quality time that you wouldn't have been able to have. So there are some silver lining, and there's some good
Definitely.
things, as weird as that can even be said, there's probably some really good things that have come out of such a tragic situation with COVID and all these businesses. But then now what do we talk about as 2021? And well, what are we going to do? What's the solutions? How are we going to bring some of these things to the table? And that's, I think, what a lot of us folks have been doing in the background.
Yeah, I mean, we're preparing. I mean, honestly, for us, I think the three of us on here specifically is that we were we used video. We started doing video, and we saw that we could connect.
I still hate it.
Oh, I hate it too. I hate it too. I know you even worse than me.
I know.
But we saw that it works, right? We saw that it works. You can do video like this. You can build relationships. Yeah, it's not like sitting down and breaking bread and doing those kind of things, but it's okay. It's okay, and it works. And I think that what we did find is that this is going to be a part of our life probably until something better takes over. A part. How much? That's what I really think we're going to see is how much is in person, how much is actually video. Because hey, look, I haven't had to get in a car and fight 2 hours of traffic each way for a year. I know. How hard do you think it's going to be to get me to crawl back into a car and drive 2 hours?
Insurance companies are sure making a killing.
Oh yeah. We got, and Bonnie stopped by too. She's here. Bonnie, good seeing you.
Happy New Year, Bonnie.
Of course, she's in the video. Bonnie, killing it on TikTok. She's probably up to 7 million.
Video's important.
Now.
Yeah. And with Bonnie being here, that's my
the video things, it's like YouTube,
Oh, she's killing it on TikTok, on YouTube. She's absolutely crushing it. And Bonnie's in Manhattan. I have a brother-in-law who he's a hedge fund manager, and he's in Manhattan and lives in Jersey. He hasn't commuted in 9 months, 10 months, and absolutely loves it. He's gained, you talk to people on the commute, they're like, we just gained 10 hours a week of our lives back.
Yep.
10 hours a week times 50. You just gained 500 hours a year by not commuting. So welcome.
There was a
Bonnie.
guy.
Yeah.
There was a guy who was a friend we used to commute to Microsoft in Seattle. One of my wife's friends, and he got cancer, ended up passing. But he said that he calculated he spent 3 years in the car. 3 years through his whole career at Microsoft commuting. 3 years is how much time he spent in the car. And at the end of his life with getting cancer was like, I wasted 3 years of my life sitting in a freaking car on a highway for a job, and I'm dying.
Yeah.
And that's
and I think it's a very interesting thing, right? I mean, it is great that we don't have and then also less accidents, less deaths. I mean, this is some good things to come from this.
Less stress.
Weird to say good things, but less people dying on the road is always good. But I mean, that's a long time, 3 years, man. And I would say, how much time have we spent in the car, Damon? Even in like 3 years of commuting around together, we probably, I don't even want to calculate that. You know what I mean? I'd be doing other things in the car on my laptop while he's driving. It was, but I'm so glad we don't have to commute 3 hours, direction. But it is.
And you look at all the shifting, like you made a great point, Damon, like with, or both you guys made a great point with, there's just everything's shifting where, people are outdoors. So, what businesses did great? I think ski resorts are doing phenomenal. Some of the governors are actually encouraging people. Like our local ski resort, we were out there the other day. It was crazy. And they're encouraging, get out, socialize, enjoy, keep that distance, but it's a safer place to have some of that, stimulus or get outside, whitewater rafting, camping, being outdoors. So I think, maybe in the past folks would be like, oh, we're going to go to whatever, the beach or Hawaii, or, you'd fly somewhere, but instead maybe folks stayed local like you did over Christmas, Damon. And so there's a lot of shifting, a lot of opportunities. So for entrepreneurs, if you got caught into a business where this really had a negative impact, we've encountered a lot of great stories like Damon, that one from Alibaba, that gentleman in Brooklyn. He makes like these giant metal sculptures for events all over Metro New York. Well, when COVID hit, it came, his business dropped 70%.
Yeah.
70% literally overnight. He was bidding on this huge project, He immediately, you can sit around mope and woe is me. He rolled up his sleeves. They started doing face masks. They landed a mask for Subway, I think the glass shields for Subway cars. And now he's up, So, I mean, like, if you can have the courage and stamina to make that, again, that word pivot, but there's a lot of great opportunities to make that shift.
Yeah. Well, then you look at other people, like you talk about Dr. Ilya Grigoris and John Apostolopoulos. Those guys, incredible story about those guys, because they were sitting around. Dr. Ilya's got his whole year.
They're all speaking. They're all speaking.
And doing that stuff, and it gets cut.
I know.
So they write a book.
They wrote a book
in 45 days or something crazy like that. They're going to be talking on the 14th of January on the roundtable.
Nice.
But they wrote that book, and those speaking engagements went away. But he subsequently in 2020 spoke to more people in a single event than he ever did, and he did one in India from his home in Colorado to over 10,000 people.
Right. Right. And he went to Greece. He went to Greece for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that is and Ben, our friend Ben Baker, they called it he called it like event bingo or COVID bingo or something, where like, okay, April 13th got canceled, May 1st got canceled. Like their whole livelihoods were based on speaking engagements, and they're like, like what was it, March 15th when the curtain was falling, they were watching all those events get their whole income being canceled. Ben wrote a book, Dr. E and Khan, it was just, I tell you, those guys are so inspiring for what they've done for 2020. What a gift they are.
Yeah. And when you look at some of the ways that even we work a lot with manufacturing and e-commerce companies, even the way, like Jeff, you talked about the Amazon warehouses and stuff, the changes that they had to make in 2020 to operate. First of all, how do you keep everybody sick when you got 500 people going in and out of a warehouse? I've got a friend up here that runs a manufacturing company with a couple hundred people in it. And they went, I think it was until November before someone got COVID out of those people. Mm-hmm. And then it was only, isolated incident. Everybody, they had their procedures in place. But
and a lot of times they say it's from people at home. Like
it is. Exactly.
From somebody else, and then they bring it to the workplace, right, how it works. So
So it's just, you see some things where, it's kind of like I got, I lost my arm in a construction accident, but I went back to school and now I'm a motivational speaker for millions of people. It's kind of like that, it's
or workman's comp lawyer or something, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now I can't work with my right arm, and I figured out how to write my left. I'm a lawyer now. Oh, I just don't want that to happen. I like the lawyers I know, but the ones I don't, I'm with you.
I'm
a little leery until I know them. No.
Well, and you're making a phenomenal point, Damon, with the manufacturers just so resilient because they don't have the luxury of having people working remote. No. 90 whatever, or I don't know what the percentage is, but somebody has to be on the floor manufacturing a good or a widget. Yeah. And I'll tell you,
running machines.
Exactly. Someone has to run the machines, and God bless these people on the floor that left their homes, and let's go back to March or April, like you're saying, Jeff, like, the stock market's collapsing, the world is coming apart. And now, your boss is saying, hey, for this wage, come risk your life and come on my shop floor. And, places, the protocols weren't in place yet. People still weren't wearing masks. And these manufacturers, they figured it out. They made it happen, and they kept the economy going. So God bless the entrepreneurs and the people on the floor that made all that happen.
And let's take one step back further, and we haven't talked about any of them yet. The truck drivers.
Drivers.
What the hell would we have done in
deal. If they March, April, May?
Because they were humping their butts trying to get product to the stores because we couldn't eat out anymore. We weren't at work anymore. And so all of that food
I
had
don't
to go
even
through
think
the
that they
grocery-
were even enforcing the law, like the laws, the 8-hour run law, right? Where they
Yeah.
can only drive.
They
I
relaxed
think
some of
they
that stuff.
relaxed those things, and they were like 12 hours or something. I heard that you could run longer, without taking breaks. So they basically like said, look, we know this isn't safe, but if we don't get this food here,
Exactly.
we're gonna have this problem, right? And like they say, it's a food store is what, not even 24 hours or 36 hours in a grocery store, right? When you have a bombardment, you can't even recover that quick, right? So it's like got to be constant, every day.
And you look at it again, and then you go back to, I'm just thinking back about all the people that really stepped up, and you go, the healthcare workers, man, look at these people, and they're still hitting it now. And I feel bad for them, because now I think, we're sitting here going, we see the vaccine, we see other things. They're dealing with the Thanksgiving, and now, which we're going to hit this in another week or so, the New Year's and Christmas is going to be pretty bad. But
that's my
they
nurse, and she's in a neonatal nurse, so she's in baby nurse.
Yeah.
They still have
their lives every day. Just think of the person. When I was with at the doctor of my daughter, we watched the person come out into the car and gave a COVID test. It was like, they're putting themselves at risk. The people in ICU, the ICU departments, the doctors and nurses. So many people. And a difference, obviously we weren't around for Pearl Harbor, but we were around for 9/11 or other tragedies that have happened. It was pockets, or it was somewhere else, or it was Manhattan or whatever. This was so different because it's affected everybody. It's affected all of us
globally.
And hey, Happy New Year, Nick. And and I'll give you guys credit. I always give you guys credit, Damon, for I'll go back that first week. You and I connected like that first week of COVID, and like that next week, you guys put out this meeting. You're like, hey, we're gonna have a what the heck meeting. Nobody knows what they're doing, so let's just and we all showed up. We were talking, and that was when the PPP loans were coming out. I remember there was like maybe 20 of us, and I was doing some research on it, and I didn't know anybody in the group. I started talking about the PPP loans and the SBA stuff, and every week you guys just were relentless with your meetings, and now you've just created amazing friendships, from Jennifer Wegman, Con and Dr. E, and everybody we could name that shows up every Thursday.
It's been really unexpected and really a blessing.
It's been a blessing.
Because I tell you, it really started out and it was so funny, because when I heard Dr. Ilya and Dr. Ilya and Con telling about writing their book, when they sat down, they said, we got to write a book. It was, and not that what we did was anything near that, because I think writing a book's really hard.
It is,
but it was like that. It's like, we gotta give some people a semblance of hope, because when I was doing turnarounds, man, I would go in those businesses and they look like poo. It's a shit show. There's nothing to do. There's no like making it look better than it is when you walk in. And that's what people are running into. And you just need some help, because all these business people, you look back and it was 10 years. We had 10 years plus of good economic growth. A lot of these business owners did not ever have to go through anything like this. They started the business, it ran fine, things were decent, and we've just really been lucky to be able to meet so many great people. And at the same time, the people being stuck at home, LinkedIn really exploded as the place. People were there, and then you start seeing people creating more content, and we're doing more videos, and you go to this group and that group, and you start going, and you just vibe with the right people. The people that you like just kind of naturally come around. And then now what you've done, Curt, and we like the round table because I'm not that serious. I like to just goof off mainly. But
that's why we love you.
Yep.
When we started to work on the manufacturing and the e-commerce things, and Jeff was in here with us then and doing that stuff on that manufacturing and e-commerce, I'm like, wow, the video has positioned us to go into 2021, and the learning what we learned on live, learning what we learned on Remo. I don't know. Chris Nesbitt, I haven't talked to Chris in a couple months now, and I feel bad, but he turned us on to Remo and let us try it a while, and that worked so well. And now you look at how we're using that in things like the manufacturing e-commerce success series that we have every Friday. And you organize such great speakers for that, and they're sharing solid information.
Yeah.
And this stuff is I've got to believe that the community, the camaraderie, the sharing of information is only going to help more people. And as long as we're helping more people, I'm driven to do it, man. I think
that's what it's all. And it'd be fascinating to see like how everybody gravitated to the third. Like it was just such an eclectic group of people that just like, how did we all stumble together and
it was a weird bag.
On the Exit Your Way meeting? Jeffrey, you had a relationship with these guys. There was just a bunch of goofy folks of all around the country that just all of a sudden started showing up and just created these incredible, wonderful friendships. And it's been fantastic. And I think think about Bonnie further apart but closer than ever, man. Bonnie, I listened to your podcast with Elson and Ray. You guys, you got to listen to her podcast.
I will.
And Manufacturing Out Loud. But think about if this happened in 1990. We're old enough, like we've been faxing each other. You know what I mean? Like it would have been so lonely. Businesses, we couldn't have put our business online. We couldn't have gone virtual. We didn't have video. We had no internet.
Yeah.
It was such a gift and blessing that we do have access. And I think what what LinkedIn or social media, what it's done is it allowed us, we're stuck in our house. Help me help you. She had an awesome line on.
Yeah.
But what it did was like with you guys, it was, everybody's like suffering, what's happening, our world's collapsing, the guys that were speaking, all their events are closing, and it brought us together in unity to get through. And like with Con and Dr. E and like Randy McNeely, Pete, if Pete's still on, Professor Pete, all these guys, these are speakers that I don't normally seek out. And like every week I was like, man, these guys are so therapeutic to listen to.
Yeah.
They were awesome.
Oh. Yeah, it's good to see that evolution too, because they were probably doing it in person a lot.
Oh, yeah, they did.
And now they're went virtual, and luckily they have personality and such, so you don't fall asleep. But yeah, I mean, it's a shift. It's like speaking in a room publicly
And now when we go forward, right? So this is what I'm excited for. I'm excited for this year because as we refine what we do. And Curt, you've gotten a group of us together that can talk about e-commerce and manufacturing. We're now talking with manufacturing extension partnerships. We're out there with our 12-week manufacturing and e-commerce
webinar series
that we got that are free. We're free. It's
right.
Free to come and listen to them and watch.
We're on the road show. What did Ray Zagato call us? Marketers Gone Wild, right?
That's what he was.
When COVID ends, Josh Curcio wants me to rent a bus, and I'm going to drive around the country, pick everybody up, and then we're going to take our e-commerce webinar series on the road.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh God, I forgot about Ray.
Marketers Gone Wild.
That was so funny. But what I really am excited for is to see what the hybrid events look like, because this is what I think will happen is the speakers will return to live, but will they return to the same size audience, or will they be doing it live and virtual and you then can attend virtually? Because listen, if I'm going to pay $1,000 to go see something, just say I'm going to go whatever you spend to go see Tony Robbins, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's more than that.
I have, whatever it is. That it could be 50,000. I don't know.
10 grand or something.
Yeah, so you're going to pay 10 grand to go see somebody you really like for a 5-day seminar. Well, that's probably not a great example. But I'm going to go somewhere and I'm going to see a 2-hour seminar, right? And I'm going to pay a couple $100 to see it. Well, if that speaker is there live and someone can pay $200 live, or I can pay $200 and watch it from my home like this, hell. If it's not something where I'm worried about networking with people, I'm going to consider doing it from home now.
Right.
But Remo helps that a lot, right?
And Remo, you just took the words out of my mouth.
Technology platforms help with the networking factor.
Yeah.
But I like Remo. I wish it was like 10 per table versus whatever. It's like
Yeah, I know the 6 is a little bit, and I've actually told them about that.
But I think that's evolution. That'll be like Gen 2 of that product and 2.0 or whatever. Yeah, I mean, totally. But then you're also going to get a bigger audience, right? If you're virtual, because the guy that couldn't attend, that wanted to attend, can attend now because he's got to pick the kids up from school or the whoever, right? And yeah, I think that's going to change things. It was going to be interesting to see because Gary Vee is like old school content guy, right? He's always about, okay, push content. But what if you're boring? What if you suck at that? You know what I mean? Well, what do you still push content? No, because like some people are really genuinely exciting to watch. That's why I said like Tony Robbins or whatever speakers. It's like, wow, what do we do, or how do you help someone that just doesn't have it?
And that's a great point, Jeffrey. And that's like we're talking with the manufacturers. What we like, I kid around when we do these webinars. I talk about market your manufacturing operation like you're a 5-star resort. Yeah. So you can be the most painful introvert, geek. I don't say geeky. Engineer. You're a widget expert, widget geek. And the thing is, if I'm a buyer for Boeing or I'm a buyer for a Fortune 500 and I need like this little goofy part widget and I'm Googling trying to find this machine and I find that video and it's a painful introvert and they're not very exciting and they're not Gary Vee, but boy, they can make a product that I need today. He or she is exciting. That is the most thrilling thing. That's the winning touchdown.
Just solving a problem, right?
You just hit the home run in the ninth, in the bottom of the ninth. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's what we try to preach to the manufacturers is like, I don't care like how if all my facilities are a little greasy, oil machine shop, blah blah blah, hole in the wall, dude. I don't care. Because if you, and Bonnie's still with us, she's just,
she's killing it here.
She's crushing it on video. And I use her as an example of like, I don't care. She says, I can make a garden hose interesting. What she said on Allison's
expendable one, the one that like sucks in like a little.
Yeah, I was one of those. But Bonnie on Bonnie's podcast with Ray, you got to listen to it. It's hysterical. As consultants, how many times have we done this? We walk into a client, walk into a manufacturer, and we're trying to prove our worth. So we're going to point out the problems or flaws, right? And Bonnie with Bonnie, you can hear just Bonnie saying this. She's like, well, you know what your problem is. And like, the person wants to throw you out. Like they're not going to buy from you, and her and Allison are going on this whole thing and Ray's in the background just dying. And she's talking about, hey, you know what your problem is? And let me tell you what your problem is. And then I'm going to tell you how I'm going to fix it. And that person can't get you out the door fast enough. So you got to, when you get a chance, you got to hear Bonnie talk.
I will listen to that. Now here's an important question that I'll ask you guys. And I know where Jeff is at on this. So Clubhouse. This is the rage, man. If you haven't heard about Clubhouse, but are you on it, Curt?
I'm not.
The less things I'm on, the happier I am, I think. Yeah.
Well, the thing that now look at get this though. This Clubhouse is supposed to be pretty popular and it's you're kind of ground level yet on it, but it's only on Apple. So Jeff, would you change it?
I don't want 1990s legacy hardware in my
I am.
I'm surprised.
I like functionality and evolution and technology, and I like people that can create and build apps on platforms that aren't limited.
Well, yeah. See, so this is the deal. I'm sitting here. I'm with you, and I'm like.
I'm not going Apple. No chance.
I was on something earlier today, and someone said, "Hey, you just need to go buy an Apple phone for it." And I'm like,
I mean, I love that. I love the Apple's,
yeah, it's a great product.
I mean, I can't knock out. I love Apple as like a brand and a business. Yeah. They're phenomenal. But as far as being an e-com and being highly technical in a lot of aspects, I like things that are technologically advancing quick. And when you have open source like Android and things like that, where you have other people that can plug into that, and you don't have to go through the Apple process. It's
I'm surprised.
It's a different kind of user experience. It's a different interface. But then, of course, you're either picking Google or Apple. That's what your choices are now.
Yeah.
It's Coke and Pepsi, McDonald's and Burger.
Exactly.
And,
Totally.
and what's going to be fascinating, with, I guess kind of a little prediction, like with like you're saying, Jeff, like how everything just escalated. Now, as everything, if you're a business, and we're talking about the professionals, doctors, lawyers. I don't care who you are. Like, you have to have some type of online presence.
Yeah.
And if you're conducting business, bottom line, it's e-commerce. And so many, and like that's where we're trying to have these breakthroughs with manufacturers, because they're like, well, when I think e-commerce, it's that transaction on Amazon, and I'm manufacturing $500,000 parts. That's still e-commerce. And what I feel that we're going to see over this evolution is niching down. If LinkedIn's too big, you're going to see like mini LinkedIns that are, maybe industry related, or, just a LinkedIn for manufacturing, or there's going to be more marketplaces. We're bullish on Amazon and Alibaba, or like DigiKey, Zorro. You're going to start seeing more and more niche marketplaces, because you can make a great living. You can have $1 million business and be super profitable, make a great living as a solopreneur, or, I have a handful of employees. Just because you're not everybody's going to build that $100 million company.
Right.
You can make a great living, $500,000, $1 million, couple $1 million on e-commerce. Professor Pete knows, he knows that.
Yeah. But you make a great point, isn't it? I forget. Andrew knows this. I don't know the statistics, but isn't it like 80 or 90% of the economy in the United States is under $2.5 million businesses, or some darn thing like that? It's like crazy.
I think it's even smaller. Yeah, I think
it's like 75% is under $1 million in revenue. They're usually like restaurants and things, because they make such a large part of our GDP. But what's interesting though with this e-commerce transition that we see, and e-commerce is a generic term, right? We kind of just throw it out there,
right?
But it's transacting online, whether it's a service or a product, right? You're going to have opportunities for other marketplaces that are going to happen. You're also going to have a lot of pushback on marketplace. Amazon's already feeling that now. And I'm very interested to see what happens next year. Are we going to see evolution in marketplace? Are we going to see other marketplaces start to kind of come up to the surface and be a player? Or are we going to see the other way around, where it's going to be more, hey, you're paying us larger margins, we're going to take advantage of the sellers? That's already happened. And is it going to continue to go that way? Because, hey, now Etsy 22%, something like that. That's a fat margin for a handmade good, that you're making and they're not advertising your stuff. You just play. That's just
22% on Etsy.
Yeah, they just changed it like a couple weeks ago. They added in this like partnership with PPC with Google, and like they kind of forcing you to do it. But yeah, the cost, like FBA, right? We've seen those numbers go from, it was 15% in the day. Now it's a 35-38% margin. Okay, so as an e-commerce business, how are you going to be successful running restaurant margins? With the marketplace is taking so much away, and then the marketplace is going, well, we make our money on advertising. Now you have to advertise to sell anything. So now we're going to get that too. So now you're at like 50 points, and again, it becomes this like dichotomy of like, well, we got to see a change and give people a chance. And with these manufacturers, and I think is they'll niche down, and I think they're going to collaborate. People with common interest, common goal, common problem are going to come together. It's going to be tighter knit, and you're going to see a lot more focused e-commerce success, like Extreme Terrain. I use it for Jeep parts. I will buy only Jeep stuff really from them, because I like buying from their site. It's a good experience. They know what they're doing. It's easy, right? I'd rather do that than buy an independent seller on Amazon. But Summit Racing's another one too, or these very niche-y, but they're very successful e-commerce businesses doing.
Well, and that's the thing that I think that'll happen too. And we talk about e-commerce, as you said, generically. I think that the spillover of e-commerce is going to be these businesses that have no e-commerce, right? You might not be selling a widget to anybody other than your own customers, but just the further refinement and making it easier to do transactions together. Because you look at even the brick and mortar stores. I don't go into an AutoZone or a Lowe's or Home Depot anymore. I usually buy it and go there and pick it up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't even waste my time anymore. If I'm going to, especially if
You gotta
I'm
make sure it's
big-
there first, right? You know, like
Yeah, I want to make sure it's there. I'm going to order it. I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to walk in the door and it's going to be ready for me to pick up.
I ordered a light bulb online today, and it was like it's a $9 blinker light.
Right.
And I was like, I'm not gonna go like to O'Reilly and drive there to buy a light bulb. I'll have it in my house in 2 days, and and I'll put it in. Done.
Yeah. And I think this is what we're seeing, and that everybody can relate to are those kind of things. But that kind of stuff is going to permeate back into the e-commerce or the manufacturing, into a traditional contract manufacturer, even because you look at, I'm doing a transaction between somebody and I'm making their enclosures or something. I'm a sheet metal manufacturer making and painting enclosures, right? Boom, 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 boom. Well, they might be transferring orders and stuff now back and forth EDI or electronically, but what does it do when it's 24/7 and you're really integrated to the inventory level, and you just think of the other ways that you can further integrate with your customers and stuff. Just keep making it easier.
These big box retailers have pivoted their e-commerce strategies to marketplace strategies, right? So you have Walmart now as a marketplace.
Yep.
And Home Depot is a marketplace.
Yep.
Online. So you went from like traditional old school inventorying product and selling, to buyer. Now you set in a marketplace store, as long as you get through approval processes, you can go sell on HomeDepot.com.
Yep.
So your opportunities now have like gone like that. With all the niche e-com retailers, period. And then in addition to that, all the big box stores are going into marketplaces. So they're becoming marketplaces. They're getting away from, working with their couple of supply chain. And now you can go set up your independent store. And the same with government, right? GSA reduced their restrictions. I don't know if you noticed this. They went down from 13 categorizations to 4 or something, right? Doesn't it happen just this beginning of this year? So there's 4 categories now instead of 13. And so now it just changes, DOD mall and the GSA Advantage. You can go sell to the government. You couldn't do that before.
Yeah.
Now you can fill out the paperwork and you can get on their marketplace and you can sell to the VA. You can sell to the Department of Defense if you want. And that's how they're looking for stuff now.
Well, and the other thing is too, is it just changed. I don't know, it was this fall, it changed that Amazon, Fisher Scientific, and Overstock, and I'm probably missing somebody else. They also now are authorized to that government buyers can buy through them and fulfill their GSA requirements, which is
Amazon's been doing that for a while too. Like the last year, they were doing that. Where they would have government agencies buying from Amazon just pay because they can do anything under 10 grand or something, right?
Yeah, but now it's full contract.
They changed it.
So that was a crazy change this year too, because
big deal.
Because
for these manufacturers, it's a huge opportunity, is what I guess we're trying to say there.
Yeah.
Isn't so much like, hey, good for the government getting a little bit smarter about like, wow, competition helps pricing. But
Body brings up Wayfair too. Like
Wayfair, obviously, I know them.
We know a little bit about Wayfair too.
Sold a lot of Wayfair.
Wayfair,
is an evolutionary thing too. And what's interesting there is, marketplace, big one of the big ones, is $6 billion a year or something. The list goes on of like who's going to evolve and emerge, right? Like Chewy is a good example of a niche marketplace, right? What Pets.com was, that's essentially what Petco.com, they were Chewy. They did the same service. And then when Chewy did it more, they became a marketplace, and then they really were hard on pricing, right? And so they started to edge out off of cost. And
subscription service,
right? And so they've started to evolve a little bit quicker than a big box store. Like a Petco that has an e-commerce department versus we're just an e-commerce business. And you've seen that evolution, and then they got bought, right? They got acquired, and now they're owned by the people we're talking about, the Petco. I think Petco owns them, or PetSmart, one of the, or I think they're all the same company now. I don't know if they're all owned by the same company now. I think but they all operate kind of independently. I think the CEO and founder is still running Chewy. I think so. He stayed with the acquisition, but wait a second. You had some little internet company disrupt 2 major retailers, what I mean? And now they got bought by them, of course. It's the game we play in, but I want to see what happens as this is going to continue to happen in niche markets. That's pet
Yeah.
products.
Yeah.
What's going to happen in pharma? What's going to happen in specific manufacturers' goods? What's going to happen in retail products like wallets or keychains or sweatshirts? Like, where are the marketplaces going to go? And people are going to start going to these niche marketplaces instead of these
and not just the stupid, bidding places where you see giving you the cheapest price, and that's what people are out there. I mean, where you can really niche down and go, okay, I'm the king of hydraulic hoses or whatever you're making, and
toy train parts or whatever, a Lego.
Yeah.
I'm a Lego reseller. I sell the little pieces that you lose in your sets or whatever.
Yeah. And I'm good at that. I'm the one and making the money on that. I'm not out here trying to, and as like you teach people, Curt, it's niche down into what you're best at, like the ground strap, at Falconer. I believe I got the name right, but as doing something like that, and what you're really good at, and use that as your way to differentiate yourself. I think it's gonna come down to that.
Absolutely.
It's just too crowded, so you can't
be excited. Right. And we're right in the midst of it. I feel like I've been in e-commerce a long time. I feel like it's just such an honor to be like right here, right now, part of history. And if you look at retail, even like go back 150 years, and like the Marshall Fields was such a game changer. Or like, if I have the story correctly, like the guy that founded down south when you were in Tennessee, Piggly Wiggly. I think the story was like the counter, like the goods were on the shelves and then the counter, and then you had the clerk had to pull stuff off the counter, and he was just like, why don't we just get rid of the counter? Just let people pick their own stuff. Wouldn't that be more? And Bonnie just had a comment, make it more convenient. And in the 1920s, they're like, nobody's you can't do that. What are you, crazy? But you take the dime stores back in the 20s, then all of a sudden Sears came along, or Kmart, then they were fat and happy. Then Walmart came in, cleaned their clock. You had remember the 90s, all the category killers were going to revolutionize the world, and Borders and Blockbuster Video. And they're buying up and knocking out every single little mom and pop on the corner, not knowing that they were just falling right over a cliff because they didn't know that Netflix and Amazon was just, pushing them right over the edge.
So I don't know. We're talking about speed, right? Like convenience, make things quicker. So I don't know if you've seen this strategy that's happened. People are doing now. Essentially, initial orders, people will order standard shipping, but the company will escalate the shipping, pay for it, suck up the cost. Product shows up in a day, 2 days. So basically, they take on initial orders. So your first time you've ever bought on the website, they know you're a new customer. You automatically order standard shipping because you're like, I don't care if it gets here in 5 days. The company escalates the shipping, puts it on a 2-day premium or a 1 day, or overnights it, and you get it the next day. You didn't pay for it. And you're like, holy shit, I ordered this yesterday and it's already here and I paid standard shipping. I'm going to buy from them again. And they get you in the game because it's all about speed. And now you are like, whoa, you blew me out of the water. I was expecting this in 5 days. I didn't need it right now, but I got it in 2 days. Well, you just got a customer that's really happy about your internet business. And you eat a little cost on the initial order, but that's going to generate a repeat order. And so like, that's the kind of tactical things that are going to evolve and change next year, right? Like people are going to start getting savvy to this kind of stuff.
Exactly. That's a great point.
These Amazon's like Prime, 2 days. Okay. Well, order standard. I'll give you Prime. I won't even tell you about it. I won't even charge you for it. I just want you to have that good of an experience as an initial customer, right? Gordon Ramsay with the restaurant thing. You got to have someone come back 5 times before they become like the one that's in your business. Well, in e-com, it's a lot easier to hook the fish if you're just getting them right out the gate and you're making it a good experience. You know what I mean?
That's a phenomenal point, Jeffrey. And we always talk about, and Bonnie just said, exceed the expectations. And our dear friend Allison always talks about that emotional engagement, that emotional connection. And our friend Jeffrey Stern at Voice Express, we always talk about it with him. And that's exactly what it is. If I ship a product out, I'm going to, that's Zappos model. That's how they turned into $1 billion company. Just kill them with customer service. Amazon. And that's a great thing with manufacturing is, they have the margins. They have an opportunity to get direct closer to the end user. And I know a lot of them are resistant to get to the consumer. They don't have to get to the consumer necessarily. It's the end user who's actually just using their product. And with those niche marketplaces, that's an opportunity. With these, getting creative on the customer service side, there's just so much opportunity.
No, it's speed, efficiency.
Yeah.
So making a well-oiled machine. They've done it inside their warehouse, inside of their manufacturing processes. They now need to just convert that into the internet game.
Yeah. So, guys, I didn't even know. I just looked up a minute ago. We've been on an hour and 15. We still got people listening to us, man. So, we could wrap out this for like 6
people
hours.
They got to be falling asleep by now.
Yeah, I know. Cause we're sitting here talking about stuff. Cause we get excited about e-commerce, man. Today I was helping one of my clients, we help them with pricing every month. And we just figured out a different way to price. And I'm going to tell you, it is incredible what you could do with e-commerce. If people haven't tried it, I don't give a rip if you're selling a pen, a car, whatever, a custom folded sheet metal part. Yeah,
it's easy to sell your first product, right? You can just go into like Amazon and look up a product, and then all the ones that suggested or was suggested with this, go look at those products, then just go source them, get one, and try it.
And Damon, we've got to
know what you're selling. You know what I mean? It could be Q-tips. I don't know, but it's all relatively the same.
And we're lining up a few speakers with our e-commerce webinar series on that are going to be preaching on configurators. We're super bullish, very excited, and that's a big thing that I'd like to be a cheerleader for 2021, is just really trying to either expose the manufacturer that doesn't realize that opportunity even exists, and then showing them the tools and resources that are out there and available, super easy. We have Gen Alpha, that's the CEO of Gen Alpha, is going to be speaking for us. We have a gentleman down the road from you in Portland that's going to be speaking for us. So we've got some great configurator webinars coming up.
Well, and I look at that again and I go, the configurator, and then we're going to go longer. I just know. But anyway, we're going to start talking about this because I was on the operational end of these businesses and looking at some of these estimates you got to put together. And even if your configurator can go, okay, you want this? You've told me what you wanted. Here's about what it's going to cost. If you want us to if it just takes something from that point through, how much time have you saved on both sides, the buyer and the seller?
It's insane.
Just to get them down to the point to go, is it $10 or is it $50? And if it's close to where you think it's going to be, then you can elevate it to an engineer at the supplier, or you can move on as the buyer if it's not right. It's just those kind of things to make it more convenient to do business. It's so crazy.
We just started one this week. We're building that Falconer example that we always use. We're building a new configurator for another product line for his company. He's so happy and so thrilled. He just, he's had Virgin Hyperloop. He just landed a huge RFQ from Dick's Sporting Goods this week. So, and it's this could be a monster for him. And again, it's because he niched down, and instead of trying to be everything to everybody, and now you're nothing to no one, he niched down, he's focused, and he's getting like Virgin Hyperloop, Amazon Robotics, Johnson & Johnson. He's a tiny custom little family operation, but because he has this configurator tool, and because he's attacking those keywords, and and our marketing is very inexpensive because, again, we've niched down. We're not trying to go after, shoes. We're going after pink running shoes with purple shoelaces is the example I always use. We've niched down. And so, we're right in the midst of, we're building another configurator for him. And he's thrilled.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. Well, if people can't tell by us going on for an hour and 18 minutes now about, 2020 and how excited we are for 2021. I think we are at the, I think we're at the beginning of something that's really going to be a lot of fun for a lot of people. And I don't want to make light of the challenges of 2020 and still now, because there are a lot of people that have had gone through some terrible things. And I want to make sure that we accurately or appropriately acknowledge that. But man, it's been good talking to you guys, and we're going to get back on and do this again. I mean, we still got 10 people listening to us, and I was like, okay, whatever. But thanks for listening to us. We're going to come back on, and we're going to have some how-tos here that we're going to do kind of more one-on-one kind of things. We're going to talk later this month about growing an e-commerce business. along with the manufacturing e-commerce success series every Friday at 10:30 Pacific, 1:30
We've got
Eastern.
great speakers lined up this month.
Yeah.
The woman, Holly, is speaking on Friday. She's a millennial. She's just a ball of
You're
energy.
talking about me, man.
Yeah, she
No love, dude.
Sorry, brother. You know I love you. Lots of virtual hug, but yeah, we got a great month.
It's like we got great speakers. You're not saying, Jeff. I mean, come on, man, dude.
Yeah. Well, you're going to be on. You're going to be on.
Everybody already knows that you're awesome, Jeff.
Yeah, it goes without saying.
I just like
that. We've got some business owners coming on. I'm really excited about some of the business owners telling their story, because I mean, man, if there's people out here listening now, they're in business and going, oh, this. You listen to a few of these stories, these business owners that have, been battle tested a few times. It will help you.
That interview with your brother was phenomenal, man. Gosh, that was just so good. What a great story that was.
You don't know, and here we go again. We're going to go longer, but we'll go.
Sorry, man.
But I didn't know. You don't know half the stuff these people go through. When he was telling me about it, he was telling me about, that time he said, my second mortgage on my house, and a baby coming, and I didn't know where my next job is. Just this kind of stuff that you hear.
Yeah, you just don't really know the whole story sometimes.
He had a partner.
You just you're doing your own life.
Partner stealing money.
His partner was embezzling from him.
Yeah. And then, keeping the faith, and then being able to go into business, and one of the biggest business people in the Midwest.
That's awesome.
I'll tell you, that was just, I couldn't get enough of that. That was such a great interview.
But we've got some other great business owners lined up to talk, and I've got I'm really excited about that, because it's going to really help people, because those people, a lot like us with a bit more gray hair, we've been
or less hair, because I'm bald.
Yeah,
or no,
I don't know if they knew that, but
wrinkles, whatever you want to say. But we've been battle tested, guys. We've gone through these things, and these people that haven't, they look at these big challenges ahead of them, right? These big challenges, and we go, that's a bump in the road.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
it's like it's all relative,
It is, and I think we'll be able to.
We've made all the mistakes for them,
Yeah.
We've screwed up so much. We're good at it.
Yeah,
I think it's just you just suck so bad so many times that you learn not to suck as bad, and you become a better player. I don't know, but
and that's with our team here. We're trying to stay in our staying in our strike zone, where we're helping some of the poor folks. Ira Bowman, he had no intention of leaving his company. Hammer comes down, and he had a pivot that was uninvited. And God bless him. He's done. I've done a lot of work with Ira. You guys have done a lot of work with Ira. He's doing, there's millions of folks out there that were corporate warriors. They're going to stay there for their career and life change this year. They're accidental entrepreneurs. So, we have an opportunity to help these folks that are new to entrepreneurship, A, or B, manufacturers that they've been 20, 30-year entrepreneurs. They just don't know e-commerce. They just need trusted advisors, folks that can hold their hand and walk them through that process. And so that's why we're staying in our strike zone. This is where we live. And we're just so passionate about helping these people. We want to see these people win. We want to, and especially the manufacturer.
All we care about, really.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hate to lose, and if my client loses, or people we work with lose, I'm pissed, because I'm losing then, and I hate losing. So it's like definitely helping people. We all got into this because we wanted to help people. I don't think it was a self-soothing thing. It's hard work. It sucks. You get more crow's feet. But man, how many people have we had help be successful? It makes you feel good at the end of the day. Like,
it does.
We're doing the right thing. Their families are happy. Their kids can go to schools they couldn't go to.
Yeah.
Like we talked about, that charged us $500,000 tuitions, right? We've sent some kids through college now for sure.
Yeah.
But it's kind of wild to think about,
right.
Helping this being like more of a I mean, I want to help as many people as we can.
Yeah.
And do what we know how to do well, and just bring it to people who unfortunately just haven't had the visibility or opportunity in the past, and now they're kind of hand is forced. So if it is forced, don't learn from us screwing up a lot.
Yeah.
And we'll make it less painful for you. I promise.
Yep.
Do our best and have a good time trying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we will have a good time trying. We're gonna work our butt off. We're gonna have fun doing it.
Yeah.
Hey, that's the one thing. My rule is if you're gonna work like hell, you might as well have fun doing it.
Tons
you
of fun.
got to enjoy it, or you're really in trouble.
Our motto is tons of fun for 21. How's that?
There we go. Tons of fun.
Put it on
fun
a
for
t-shirt.
21.
That's a bumper sticker, Curt. Jeez Louise, dude.
Yeah. I'm writing it down. All right, guys. Thanks everyone for joining us.
Yeah,
It's been
Happy New Year, guys. Thank
We're
you,
gonna be
Damon.
back
Thank you,
again.
Jeffrey. Thank you, everybody. Thank you,
Thanks,
Andrew.
everybody. It was fun.
Bye.
Have a great night.